Hey there and welcome back to XCOM. My name is Pete and today we complete episode 55 of our XCOM Enemy Within Ironman Impossible walkthrough. In the last episode we spent all of our time in the XCOM base and unlocked 4 achievements until we then stumbled upon our next mission. Now, in between episodes I have thought a bit about how we're going to tackle that mission, and to prepare let's quickly head over to engineering to make a few purchases. First up, we're going to buy a psi armor for Annette that will boost her will stat by 20 points and not only make her psionic attacks more likely to succeed, but also increase her usefulness as a squad leader. We will also grab a second ghost armor, as even without the ghost mode, this armor is better than the skeleton suit in every single way, so we would be stupid not to use it, especially now that we are in the endgame. And that's all, let's jump into the mission now, which will take place at the crash site of a Large Scout. We will be facing 11 enemies, nothing too crazy among them, so I think we should not have any trouble getting in and out alive. Now for our squad we will get rid of Adam and, for the first time in this series, also of Emilia. We have now committed to Andrea as our soldier who needs to make it all the way to the end and take part in every mission, and Emilia is largely obsolete with Annette in the squad anyway. In her place we are taking Sharky Santoso, and the final spot goes to our Hover S.H.I.V Lightning 1, a choice that we will come to regret in a moment, but not for the reasons that you might expect. Now, Heavy Kim Lupai has been using the skeleton suit up until now, and will now receive the upgrade to Ghost Armor. I misclicked here and showed the stats of the psi armor, which is of course reserved for Annette. Ghost Armor meanwhile has all the benefits of the skeleton suit, like the movement speed increase and the grappling hook, but provides more health and more defense, and of course also Ghost Mode. Annette has also been using it for the last few missions, but I'd argue that psi armor is more useful for her, as it will boost her will stat to a comfortable 126, enough to reliably mind control the majority of enemies in the game. And since Annette is now the only support in our squad, she also needs the medikits, otherwise we won't have a healer. Louisa can then equip Annette's old ghost armor, and yes, I know that ghost mode and mimetic skin do not work together, so she won't be able to use the armor's core feature, but like I said, the suit has several other advantages that still make it an improvement even for her. I will also admit that I'm not quite sure why I gave Louisa the arc thrower here. Something like chitin plating would have been much more useful, I think, since we have already captured every enemy in the game. As it happens, I only realized my mistake after recording the footage, so let's jump into the mission now. I'm sure we'll be fine regardless.
Come in, HQ. Big Sky has reached the outer marker. Approaching the crash site now. Strike team is awaiting your orders.
Affirmative, Big Sky. Strike 1 is free to engage hostile targets at the crash site.
And here we are, deep in the forest, with the UFO and both melt containers somewhere ahead of us, and with the rather annoying sound of the Hover S.H.I.V to accompany us throughout the entire mission. Yes, that buzzing, humming sound of the ship's engine is not going to stop until we're done here. As a matter of fact, once we launch it up into the air, the sound is going to get even worse. But let's not focus on that too much, we have a job to do, and so far we're not seeing anyone, so let's send Louisa out to scout ahead.
I'm rolling.
Alright, nothing yet, but we have some more full cover available, maybe that reveals a bit more. Okay, so no enemies yet on our first turn, which means we can move up the rest of the squad without running the risk of getting detected. And that includes the Hover S.H.I.V, which has 24 units of fuel, enough to send it flying right away. The first alien turn then passes by without incidents, so let's keep moving, this time with a full dash that just barely gets us into another full cover position. And it also reveals our first group of hostiles, 3 heavy floaters who are for the moment still unaware of our presence. And because of that, we will attack immediately with a squad-side headshot from Sniper Michelle. Unless we are extremely unlucky, this should get us a critical hit. And that it does, as well as the kill, while the other floaters now activate. They still don't know where we are though, so they just seek cover, and since our squad is far enough away, we stay hidden for now. We are so far away in fact that we can't even move up a few tiles without risking detection, so let's do that and go on Overwatch with everyone in the hopes that our enemies move closer. After taking their sweet time to decide on a plan, the floaters then unfortunately move away from our trap, so no reaction shots just yet. We do, however, still have a good chance to hit with Michelle, so let's see if she can make it 2 for 2. Unfortunately, she cannot, and the net also gets a little unlucky here. I had hoped for her to get into range with this move, but as you can see, she doesn't. In that case, I think we should play it carefully for one more round, so let's keep our distance and use a net as kind of a marker on the battlefield, while we move everyone else up again and activate a full round of Overwatch, except for Louisa, of course, who will just remain idle. Finally then, we have some movement, and it does indeed look like we were just outside of the floater's side range, as the first reaction shot here triggers almost immediately.
No damage on selected target. Damn it!
However, neither Andrea nor Annette nor the Shiv can hit anything, only heavy CFD Lupi does some damage on this turn. Well, at least on our side, the floater also takes aim and damages MEC Trooper Cook, but with 25 hit points I think she can take it. At this point though, I think we have waited long enough. Let's engage and take out the floaters before they do more damage, starting with another shot from Michelle. She is the only one still aiming for another promotion after all. And this time she also connects, leading to her second kill of the mission. And that leaves only one enemy who is in reach of Louisa's close and personal ability, so she can now shoot twice without taking the accuracy penalty from rapid fire. And the second shot is enough for the kill, so we're 3 enemies down, 8 more to go. And from what we know, those 8 will be a group of thin men, a mechtoid, likely accompanied by 1 or 2 sectoids, and then the commander part with the ethereal and 1 or 2 Muton Elites. So far though, none of those enemies show themselves, but we do get a sense of both melt containers, and one of them is actually already visible in the shadows, so let's go for that first.
Moving out. Visual on the goods.
The full dash through unknown territory does not reveal anything apart from the melt, for which we have another generous 4 turns, and then also the alien UFO, where I assume the majority of enemies is to be found. So let's keep moving towards it. Once again, we have nothing to fear here and can freely use dashes to advance quickly. On the alien turn, we then spot the thin man, but only with the hidden Louisa, so the group does not engage. With the melt collected, we can then also move her closer to get a better view, and since there is still a wall blocking their line of sight, we can advance a bit further with the rest of the squad as well and set up another overwatching ambush.
Good to go.
And this time our strategy works like a charm, at least until every single one of our soldiers decides to concentrate fire on one and the same enemy, who of course gets torn to pieces alongside with the UFO power source in the back, but the other two thin men escape unharmed. But, well, they're only thin men, so they're not going to last long, and we can once again get the first kill with Palladium Talpas. For the other one, we can then take aim with Kim, and as the first shot doesn't hit, go for attempt number 2. That clears this group from the map, and so we can keep moving into the UFO now in search of the remaining aliens. And we immediately find 2 of them in the Ethereal and its Muton companion. Don't ask me why that gleaming, shimmering, whatever sound is playing on loop right now. It comes from the Ethereal, I think, and should go away as soon as we kill it. For the moment though, we can move up the rest of our soldiers to avoid creating holes in our squad. Especially Sniper Talpas is pretty far away from the action already, and with the fight now moving into the UFO, I think we can afford to take it a little slower here. The Ethereal does not move, and neither does the Muton, so let's keep moving forward with Kim and Michelle, while everyone else spends one more turn on Overwatch.
Good to go. Wait, I have to reload.
Same deal then, no enemy movement, but this time we're ready to engage, so let's start things off with a Shredder rocket from Heavy CFD Lupi.
Suck on this.
This gets the aliens moving, but not of our reach. And the word reach can be taken literally here, because for the Muton we are sending in our kinetic strike specialist, Astro Cook.
Closing to engage target.
And with 18 points of guaranteed damage boosted by the rocket, the Muton would have been knocked dead right away even at full health, so now we're left with only the Ethereal. And to me this looks like a task for a running and gunning Luisa Santoso. 16 points of damage with 2 86% shots seem doable. Now as the Ethereal dies, it deals 4 points of damage to all surrounding enemies, but for Luisa this is just a scratch, and we're down to the last 3 enemies of the mission anyway, 2 of which should be sectoids, so I'm not growing concerned here. For the rest of the turn we can now reposition a little and then go on Overwatch. I have no idea where that mechtoid is coming from, but I assume it's somewhere in Luisa's direction, otherwise we might have spotted it by now.
What was that? Enemy in sight.
Well, consider me corrected. Here it is, coming from the exact opposite direction, and since most of our soldiers were too far away, we unfortunately do not get off a single reaction shot. Nonetheless, this seems like a more than manageable task, especially since the sectoids are still relatively close to the mechtoid, which allows us to open this fight with another rocket from Kim.
Rockets away.
And yes, she deals extra damage against robotic units, so the mechtoid is brought down to only 6 hit points now, while the sectoids of course do not survive the blast at all. And well, 6 hit points, that seems doable, even with half of our squad so far away that they don't even see the enemy. Luckily, we still have Michelle, who is, coincidentally, also still searching for that last promotion.
Excellent work. All objectives complete.
And there we are, what started off slow eventually turned into a very quick and methodical dismantling of the alien forces. No one got seriously injured, and we can now head back to the base.
I've heard no reports of injuries on the last mission, and our troops recovered an additional quantity of the meld substance. An outstanding effort, Commander.
No promotion yet for Palladium Talpas, but maybe the next mission will do. What's more important is that we obtained an ethereal corpse from this one, as well as a good amount of materials and 2 damaged alien artifacts that we can quickly sell. With 50 credits more in our account, we can then head over to engineering and start a few new foundry projects. We have seen the H.I.V's laser cannon in action now, and I consider that enough for the sake of completion. Time to upgrade to plasma weapons. And since we're on it, we can also unlock H.I.V repair now, which allows us to repair the H.I.V in combat using the arc thrower, and this is not stated here, also our mechs, and that is very likely what we will primarily be using this for.
I'll make sure production begins immediately, and as soon as we've got something, I'll be in touch.
Now, we're not done yet, as we can now also purchase a mind shield using the ethereal corpse we just brought back. This will further increase Annette's will score by an additional 30 points, so mind shield and psi armor together are good for a 50-point bonus on top of her already pretty substantial will stat. And let's actually take a look at what that does to her. If we get rid of the scope in favor of the mind shield, you can see Annette's will score increase to an absolutely massive 156. Now, considering that we can easily boost that by another 30 points with Kim's psi inspiration power, we are looking at the potential to use a 186-point will score squad leader for the rest of the game, which should even allow us a moderate chance to mind control in ethereal. Now, we will switch Annette from the plasma to the light plasma rifle at this point, because she had to get rid of the scope and thus lost her aim bonus. The light plasma rifle has that already built in, but at the cost of a reduced damage output, which in most cases I feel is not actually worth it, but for someone like Annette and for a situation like ours, in which we can kind of pick and choose which missions to take, I think it is actually a sensible decision to go with the light plasma. Now, speaking of picking and choosing, yes, at this point the only reason why we might continue to take on UFO missions is for achievements, because as long as we can keep shooting them down, there is no need for us to actually clear the crash site, apart from perhaps a particularly interesting combination of aliens that would allow us to grab one of the still missing achievements. For example, Andrea still needs to clear a crash site all by herself, we still need to mind control an ethereal, and of course we also still need to field a squad that consists entirely of MEC Troopers and or H.I.Vs, which is something we might actually start working towards in the next episode. Other than that though, you can expect us to skip the occasional crash site mission from here on out, especially if we would be facing a particularly large number of enemies, because again, at this point we simply do not have a whole lot to gain from these missions. But let's worry about that in the next episode. For today, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut. If you enjoyed the video, then I would of course be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up, and if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then feel free to subscribe to help the channel grow, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.